Okay, so hello everyone. Today I'm gonna show you which Venture Tale class is the best overall. However, this is just my own opinion after playing this game for almost 7 months now. And even though I haven't gotten every single class maxed out, however, I think my opinion, it depends on what you guys want to say, but it's just my own opinion on which class do well in which category. And yeah, let's just move on to the video. And yeah, so let's move on with the melee classes first. And this is Axis, I'm pretty sure. And for Axis, I think it's a B tier. It's a pretty balanced class. It's just basically focus more on damage instead of defense and all that, like what swords do. So it's pretty good for most scenarios, and it's a good starter weapon. And yeah, I think for Axis is a solid B tier. Yeah, moving on to the book. Oh no, the Dagger class. The Dagger, it's a really bad class in my opinion. It's a D tier, honestly, for me. I played Dagger for a very long time because I need book, and it's just really hard in mid game. It's okay in early game 1 to 11 level. However, when you've gone to 11 to 16, it cannot do anything because its skill is trash, and it do low damage as well as very low range, which is just not plausible in the game meta right now. However, it's also a very hard starter weapon to main in from the start of the game without any boost of your friends or yourself. So in my opinion, the Dagger is just a solid D tier. And moving on to the Sword class. The Sword class, I think, is a pretty balanced class. It's a B tier class. Since it's a solid B, similar, I will put it above the Axe, because overall it's just balanced in both defense and offense, and they also have a lifesteal move later on in the game, which is pretty good. In late game area, it's pretty good. It also pairs well with the shield, and yeah, it's just a very good class overall. It's good for early class, and its skill is pretty busted in early class. You can kill basically anything and solo anything. And there's a tons of build for swords, so it's a solid B class. Even though there's better options, it's just a very good class to start with. And for me, I actually started with sword in beta, and yeah, in my opinion, sword is pretty good, not gonna lie. Even though it's a bit bad in late game, since in most late game is all about range and burst damage. So yeah, that's why I'm not putting it in the A class, A tier. And yeah. Now, the Spear. Spear is a bad class. I think it's a C. Even though it's okay for bosses, it's just not good against with either. It's not just not good. It's better than Dagger, of course, but it's just not good because it's both a double-handed weapon, and it's there. That means you cannot have a shield or any other one-handed weapon. Also, it have not that much of a damage difference from Axis, and it's just not good in my opinion. Just don't get it. Just don't use Spear. I do think, however, you do need Spear for rapiers, right? Yeah, I think most people go Spear because they need rapier. That's about it. So don't main on Spear class. It's just not good in my opinion. Yeah. Now the Tower Shield. It's either a S tier or an A tier in my opinion. An S tier or an A tier. I'll put it in the S tier. since Tower Shield is the best support class in the game, and they do tons of damage as well. So any high level party, you need a Tower Shield because it's basically, it saves your life. It gives you a big health, big shield bonus. It's just really good. So that's why it's a hard carry. It's an S tier. Even though I think there's some other classes better, but yeah, Tower Shield is really good. It's really good. It's a really good support class. Not really that good in DPS though. Yeah. Now moving on to the shield class. This one, I think it's also it's an A tier for me because shield is basically a very good combo with any one-handed weapon such as rapier, swords, axes. They're also maybe dagger. It's just really good. It can block a lot of damage and you can tank a lot of damage as well. It can make a glass cannon build into a pretty tanky build if you have shield equipped on your other hand. Yeah, that's all I can say about shield. It's just really good against paired with other one-handed weapon. Now moving on to the rapier. A rapier is solid S. Wait, is it solid S? I don't know about this, but I think rapier is pretty good late game. It do tons of damage, and it's more of a skill based, right? I'll put rapier in A tier. Rapier is really good since for me, I think rapier it just do a ton of damage. I think it even do more consistent damage than crossbow in late game with all godlike armor, god tier armor, and accessories. So it's just really good. However, I'm putting it in an A tier instead of a S tier because rapier, it takes a bit of skill to play. You need to know when to dodge and when to do stuff. So if you just want to do like hack and hack, you won't really play that well with rapier. However, rapier is it's like a pinnacle of A tier in my opinion. Yeah. Now, this is a polearm. I never really had polearm before, but I heard people say polearm do great. So I'm not really sure about this weapon. You guys can comment in the comment. You guys can comment what this weapon do because I had this class, but I only gotten it to level 5. So I'll put it because from what other people have said, it's a pretty good weapon. So I'm going to put it in B tier in the above sword and axes. Maybe I can move it later if you guys tell me what it's good for. So I'm going to put it in B tier right now. I do not know a lot about this actually. Yeah. Moving on to hammer. I know hammer a lot. Hammer, I'm gonna put it into this place. Better than shield, but not better than rapiers. Because hammer is a great AoE and crowd control weapon. It do great against many situations and it do tons of damage. It's also a starter weapon, so you do not need to grind a bit for you to get this. So I think hammers are really good. It's just a bit slow, and that's about it. Now moving on to the greatsword. The greatsword I think is a S tier. I played this quite a bit. What greatsword do is hacking and using a skill to do a crap ton of damage against one boss. It's just like trying to get the most damage you can ever get with one skill. That's what greatsword do best, and it actually do very well against AoE. And yeah, so that's why I'm putting in the S tier since its skill, the spinning skill, is really good, and it's just a really good weapon against bosses and all that. Now moving on, let's talk about range weapon. So the crossbow. I'll put it in B tier, but yeah. Do not hate me on this. I know a lot of people like crossbow. However, it's just not performed well in many scenarios, right? A crossbow is great against bosses, against single target. With a correct build, you can shred bosses in mere seconds. However, it's just not that good against other things such as mobs and all that. Against a lot of a lot of like enemies. It's not good in AoE. So it's good in certain playthroughs, but it's not the best. It's good for me. I think it's only good in bosses. And also it's very hard to get the correct build, since you need a lot of preparation and all god tier armor to do actually really well. It's just really hard to get into, as well as getting the achieving the best you can perform, honestly. And the bow, on the other hand, is I'll put it here. The bow is a generalist, which means that it's good for basically anything. It's good for AoE, good for crowd control, good for single targets. It's just a really solid weapon, like the rapier, which is good for almost everything as well. Yeah, the bow is honestly a pretty balanced weapon. So if you guys want to do a crap ton of damage to single targets, I suggest you guys choose crossbow. However, if you guys want to balance everything out, I suggest you guys use bow and arrow. A bow, which is pretty good. And bow's class is starter class, so yeah, it's also that count into this, I guess. Yeah. Now moving on to the mages. Okay, now the staff. I think for me, the staff is not good. It's a two-handed weapon. It do not do that much damage, and it's just a real nuisance to play, since it's a two-handed weapon and it's just not really that good. So I'm gonna put it above spear, but still it's a bad class and there's better options. Since staff itself do not have a skill, and its only benefit is it do more damage than the wand. That's basically it. It's not that good. You can't hold a shield or any other weapon on the other hand. And yeah, it's just not really that good in my opinion. The wand, on the other hand, is pretty good. I'll put it in bottom B tier because wand itself is not really that good. It's good for AoE. However, there's just better options such as the book, which I'm going to talk about later. And the wand is just a support item, I guess. It's not really that good, not really that bad. However, I just can't put it above sword, since the wand overall is just not a good carry. And there's better options. Now, lastly, the book. The book, I'll tell you not, is one of my favorite weapons and one of the better in the game. One of the meta in the game. I will not put it in as hard carry. However, I'll put it behind rapier. Perform well in many scenarios. I think this is the case since book do a lot of burst damage with the correct build. It's also great for AoE, and it's just a really solid item. It's also a one-handed item, which means you can carry 2 books, and it also have an inscribed spell, which means you do not need to put spells in your avatar, in your inventory. So you can put in more accessories in your inventory to boost the damage. The book is also pair well with other one-handed weapons. So, and it also can heal people with some book. So it's really good. It's good for support, for damage, and for other things. However, there's 2 crucial disadvantages of having a book. A book do not have M1, not like any other classes. Maybe like shield. It do not have M1, which means that you are just holding a useless item in your hand without able to do anything except shooting out spells from the book. Another bigger disadvantage of books are it have very low HP buff. They have 2 HP buff with book, which is useless since that do not do anything to HP. So basically, if you have book, you're basically a glass cannon that can get one-shotted from a boss in many scenarios. Yeah, so it performs well in many scenarios, but not all scenarios. And I'm not putting in an S tier, hard carry or above rapier, because book overall only have burst damage and it sort of struggles against bosses sometimes. And yeah, do not hate me on this tier list. This is just my own opinion, And I thank you for watching, everyone, and see you guys next time. Peace out.